Hi. What are we today? Thursday, 15th of October. I wanted to talk to you today about a few things um, about about the doing the lost item readings and about energy, about predicting how it's actually done or how I believe it's done, and also things that you've been reading about on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and a lot of it's like conspiracy theories about what's going on around the world. And a lot of it kind of doesn't make sense, but this year hasn't made a lot of sense. And the more you're opening up your mind to different possibilities, it's a bit hard to understand what is truth and what is not truth. So, the first thing I want to talk about is I'm going to do a few more of those exercises with lost items. So I'm going to be moving items around my home, and then you can use your abilities to try and find them. When you're doing it, it's sometimes you can think, is this just my imagination? Am I just convincing myself of something, or am I really seeing it? Because there's a bit of a fine line in trusting that you've actually stepped out of the ego self and just focused on the energy of the item. So when I'm doing it and I'm going into someone else's home, I'm I'm just focused on the item and then what's around it, and not second guessing myself or not trying to make up a story in my mind. There's this you'll notice the difference when you move out of the ego thinking self and actually are just connecting, like totally connecting. Which brings me to a point of, I say that I do predictions, but I'm not actually doing predictions. What I'm doing is stepping into the future, stepping into a future timeline that has already is happening, because everything is energy. As you know, everything is energy. And the past is energy, the now is energy, and the future is energy. And I believe there's different timelines and different dimensions, and they can cross over. So you can go back into the past. So think about this for a minute. Right now, we have right now. Right now, everything around you right now. How are you able to step back in your consciousness, your mind and your consciousness? How are you able to go back into the past and see a story unfold? You can go back into the past, can't you? Because the past is not here right now. It's already happened. But you can go into it still. So why can't you go into the future? It's just an energy. The past is an energy. The future is an energy. And you just step into it. You do that in your dreams. In your dreams, you'll dream about someone from the past, or you'll dream about something in the future. You see it unfolding in the future in your dream. And when you wake up, you say, I saw this happening. And then it does happen. You didn't create it to happen. It was already there. What you did is you just stepped into your consciousness and stepped into that time zone. So when I'm saying I'm doing a prediction, I'm not saying something and forcing it to unfold. It's already there, unfolding. I'm just using my conscious mind to step into that time zone and see a picture of something that's unfolding. You get a lot of people that say nobody can predict the future. Like a lot of these people that do law of attraction, they'll say you are the creator of your own existence. So anything that you think of today, you are creating to unfold in the future, it is right what they're saying. But there is also things that are already there. There's a timeline already there. So as a clairvoyant, what I'm doing is I'm taking my conscious mind out of the now, stepping into that time zone, watching the picture, coming back into this time zone and saying, that's the way it'll be in the future. And when it does, I didn't make it happen. I didn't plant a seed into somebody's mind to say that's the way they had to go. I've just stepped into a different time zone. It also makes you wonder when you are seeing spirits. I've thought this for a very, very long time. Sometimes when a spirit comes into my home, I know that they are here because I'm about to do a reading for a relative of theirs, and they've come to me for the reading, for the pure purpose of the reading. But other times I will see a spirit just walk through doorways and they don't see me. I'll be sitting on the couch and they'll go through the doorway and they don't see me. Is that for a split second, that being and myself have crossed over a timeline? Is that somebody that is living in this house, this same house as me, but in the future? They've crossed through. All they're doing is they're living here. Say they're living here in 30 years' time. So in 2020, I'm sitting in this house, but in 2050, there is someone else living in this house. And for that split second, the 2020 and the 2050 timeline crossed, where I saw him walking through my home. He hasn't even noticed me because I would be a spirit to him. I would be just an energy in the home at the same time. It's like this. I used to say this in a place that I worked once. There was a kitchen there and everyone used to see a spirit walking from the fridge to the deep fryers like they were cooking. And I used to say, what if it's somebody that works in that same place in the future? And it's just the timelines have crossed over. So we're seeing something that is happening in this same space, but in a future timeline. If you see someone sitting on the couch, you see a spirit sitting on the couch. For a split second, you see it, and then it's gone, and you're not sure what it's there for. Is that somebody that's living in your same space in a different time zone? And has that person sitting on the couch, as like the spirit sitting on the couch, have they noticed you and yelled out to someone in their family, I just saw a spirit? Are we both thinking we're spirits, energies, when all we've done is cross timelines over? So there's a really big difference between when you have a spirit around you that's a relative that's coming to visit, when you have a spirit around you that is bringing you messages, and when you have spirit energies around you that are living in the same space as you but in a different time. And your time zones have just crossed over. And some of you have noticed this in the traffic. If you've ever been driving on the road and all of a sudden a car is just right in front of you, or two cars you're right there, but you've looked that way, you've looked that way, you've looked that way, you turn around and there's a car there. Like, where the hell did they just come from? It's like this split time zone where they call them ghost cars, but where did they come from? Like, they're just both there at exactly the same time. I would love to, I can't quite work out yet how we manipulate this time dimensional differences to make them blend. But it certainly adds up. It makes a lot of sense to me if I'm seeing someone walk through. If I see a spirit walk through this house and he's here, he's living in this house in 30 years' time, and I no longer live here, I live somewhere else. But right now, I'm seeing a time frame in the future. And then he glances across and sees me. So while he's living in the house, he's seen somebody from the past that was living in this house. Our energies just blended for that time frame. I don't know if you can see it the same way. And it sounds a little bit far-fetched, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Because of the way I work, it makes a lot of sense to me. I also want to talk about the media at the moment. If you don't watch mainstream media, because mainstream media is all owned by the same people anyway, and if you watch in Australia, if you watch Channel 7, 9 and 10, you'll get exactly the same news stories at exactly the same time with exactly the same narrative. They all give exactly the same information. If you switched from 7 to 9, you'd get the same story at the same time with exactly the same narrative. And So a lot of people have switched off from mainstream media now for that very reason, that we're just being fed a whole heap of crap that they want us to believe. So you start watching other sources, different sources on the internet, the news sources that you trust. And if you follow Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, you'll start seeing there's an awful lot of people out there talking about obviously what's going on in the world at the moment, but I've heard a lot of people saying that people that have died are going to be coming back, like Princess Diana, Michael Jackson, the old Elvis one that's been around for years. There's another one that JFK Jr. never actually died, and he's been helping Trump behind the scenes to bring everybody down. So you're going to hear all these different stories. Now, I'm not going to tell you whether they're right or wrong, but if you want to work something out for yourself, I know that everybody that is alive has a soul. And when the physical body dies, the soul goes back to the non-physical, and you can connect into the soul of the life that was led. So me, when I die, physical body dies, my ego dies, my personality dies, but my essence, my soul, which is me, will go home to the non-physical, and it'll contain all the information that I had as Vicky. It would know all the emotions I had as Vicky. It would know all the things I did as Vicky. It would know everything about the existence of Vicky while I was here. So if I'm in the non-physical, my soul is going to feel very, very different than if it's in the physical. So if someone is connecting with me, if someone on the other side of the world was asked to connect to Vicky Button, they would be able to feel that my soul was alive. And if I had died, they would be able to feel that my soul was dead, especially mediums that are very, very good at what they do. So if you want to know if, like, Princess Diana is dead, you connect with her soul and ask her. It's really that simple. You just connect with their soul, and their soul is in a different place, not in the physical world. It's in the non-physical world, and it's easy to pick that up. The only one I haven't been able to connect with is I can connect with Diana, I can connect with Michael Jackson. And another thing is, I hear these people saying these things on social media. Do they stop for one moment when I've read so much crap lately where people will say, Princess Diana never died and she's going to come back. Like, I don't know, how many years has she been gone? 20 or 30 years or whatever. She's just going to come back. I'll tell you one thing. If I disappeared 20 years ago and faked my death and then decided to go, I'm here 20 years later, my kids would kill me. My friends would kill me. My family would kill. Like, why would you put someone through that? Why would you fake a death and put your children through 20 years of grief and your friends through 20 years of grief so that you can suddenly appear? And then if you use the argument, they know about it. Like, let's say Diana, for instance. Let's say, these conspiracy theorists will say that the William and Harry know that she's alive and all the royal family know that she's alive, but it's just the general public that don't know. Don't you think someone would leak that information out, or accidentally say something, or that? I just please, people, think about. It's okay for you to be sitting at home being a keyboard warrior and saying, I know that Princess Diana never died and she's going to come back and tell the truth. Did you stop for a moment and think about her children and her grandchildren and her brother and her family? How would they feel with something was taken away from them and they had to grieve for all those years, and then you're sitting there saying she's just going to come back? Think about other people's feelings before you say that. And then the other one is cloning. So-and-so died years ago, and they're just a clone. They're walking around a clone. Well, if you do research, there is a lot of information about AI, artificial intelligence, where they can actually create all my facial movements on a computer, and then they can make an artificial person of me who's speaking, and it's not me speaking, but they can make that. Yes, absolutely happening. There is body doubles where people that want to be out, got to be out in the public eye, and they want to, for their safety, they will use a body double. But cloning, I believe there is a lot of scientists out there that are doing cloning, and there's a lot of universities that are doing cloning. Yes, there's a lot of work in that area. But as for people being executed and being cloned, I just don't resonate with that at all. And if you look at certain people on TV or on a computer, look into their eyes. You just look into their eyes and you can see if their soul is in there. Because there is this thing called, you can have a thing where, what's the word? It's like soul, your soul that's in here can step out and another soul can step in. It does, and it happens a lot when people go through a massive breakdown in their life where the soul that's in there just can't handle the emotions because of our physical bodies have so much emotion that we have to go through. When we're a spirit, we don't have to feel all that. We just feel love. It's just love and peace. When you're in this physical body, you feel all the bad stuff. You feel the grief and the negativities and the jealousies and the angers. If your soul can't handle that, it can agree with another soul to step out, and another soul can step in. And it can happen for a couple of years where you've got another soul inside you. All the information is still retained on what that life is like. And you might notice this in people. I've had a few people, we've had conversations about this in Messenger, where this one guy who may be watching at the moment, he actually felt his soul leave his body and allowed another one to come in for a couple of years while he went through the dark night of the soul, and he went through a very dark place. And when he was ready again, that soul stepped out and his original soul came back in again. And you know it. When it happens to you, you know it because you feel so different. You don't feel like yourself. You feel like you've disconnected from your emotions. You're like a little bit like a robotic state where you're just functioning in life and not really feeling emotion connected. There's no connection. You know it. You know it. So when you're looking at somebody who's talking on TV or up close when you're with somebody, you know, when you look in their eyes, you can connect to their soul, and you will know when you're with somebody who has disconnected from their soul. They're like emotionless in some way. They can say all the right words, but they can't feel it. They can't feel stuff with their emotions. They've disconnected because it's too hard. It's just too hard. So I don't know that there is all these dead people out there, like they're saying Hollywood stars and politicians. And then I read the other day that there is actually a YouTube channel where someone has listed all the people that have been executed. You know, like Katy Perry, she's actually been executed apparently, and she's just a cloned being that we're watching. And there was lists and lists and lists of people that have been executed. Like the Queen, they said the Queen's been executed because no one knows where she is at the moment. My thought is, where are all these people in the world that are just executing people without public knowledge? Like, I certainly can't go and execute someone in my backyard without someone finding out about it or the police coming around. So are they actually saying, by saying they've just been executed, are they saying the government has that much power, they can just execute people without anybody knowing about it? Because when people are in jail, you know who's in jail. And when there's someone on death row, you know, there's records. There's records of people that are on death row. Everything is even if you're not aware of who the people are that are on death row, they are there, and there's records, and there's people that work in the area that know. So are they trying to tell me that somewhere there's some kind of organisation out there that can go around executing people and no one knows about it? Like, I don't know how they get away with actually saying this without proof. If I do a reading for you and give you information about the future, you want proof, don't you? And if nothing is going to happen, you're going to come back at me. But there's so many people out there at the moment on social media that are just dictating, oh, that's a clone and that person's been executed. There's no proof. They got no proof whatsoever. They're just making a statement, and then they're not accountable for that statement. I'm certainly accountable. If I say something, I'm accountable for it. So, it's up to you. You're intelligent. You work it out, whether or not you're going to believe. Go with your instinct. Go with how you feel. Like, you know from your instinct, from your connection with energy, whether someone's alive, whether someone's dead, whether they've been cloned, and most of the time it could be a body double. But I do agree that there's a lot of people that look very different. If you go back through videos of somebody that was in the public eye that was talking 10 years ago, and now you look at them, they've got a totally different face, but that could be surgery too, couldn't it? So I'm not going to comment on what I believe on who is real, who is not real, but just use your own instinct, use your own intelligence, use your logic, and work it out for yourself. So I'd love to hear your comments again as usual, and have a great day, everyone.